Hi friends, welcome to our YouTube channel. If you came to our YouTube channel for first time, please make sure to subscribe our YouTube channel and don't forget to hit bell icon and share. If you feel like these lectures are valuable for you, you can share this to your SAP circle as sharing is a caring. So in today's session we will discuss blanket purchase order, blanket purchase agreement, call of order, framework order. It's name, so don't confuse with that. That's a blanket purchase order, blanket purchase agreement, call of order and framework order. So first of all, let me see what's a blanket purchase order. So blanket purchase order is a long term agreement between a business and a supplier to purchase a set of amounts of goods or services over a period of a time. Like, let's suppose companies just required to purchase some stationery item for 1 year. So what they will do, they will just create a blanket purchase order for time span of a 1 year or 2 year, whatever it is. They are going to create a blanket purchase order and they will fix a limit like 10,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, whatever it is. So if companies required same service or same material, they need to purchase that again and again on regular basis. So they just do what? They just create a blanket purchase order for that. So blanket purchase orders are often used when a business need to purchase the same item on a regular basis, right? So generally it's used by company for services and consumable material. Like if company just want to purchase some material that they just want to consume directly, they don't want to store that, they don't want to store that material, they just directly want to consume that. So in that case, and they just require that again and again, that material or service, then they just create a blanket purchase order for that, right? So how we are going to create a blanket purchase order? By using same T code ME21, and we are going to create that blanket purchase order, and document type in that case will be FO. Like whenever you just create a standard purchase order, document type is NB, but here document type in framework order will be FO, right? So what are the configuration steps? We will discuss that, but before that let me give some examples, some practical examples of a blanket purchase order, right? So a blanket purchase order, blanket purchase agreement, call of order or framework order. So let's suppose company is required some material, like he is working in a store, he is a store guy, and he just required, there's a company just required the material like a stationery item, or it can be anything. Regular basis we just required a consumable material. So what we will do, we will just create a blanket purchase order. That store guy will create a blanket purchase order, and it will mention in blanket purchase order, we used to mention validity period like from January 1 to December 31st. It can be any like validity can be there, like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 1 year, 2 year validity we have to mention there. And limit like up to 10,000 or 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 3 lakh, whatever limit we just want to set for that, we are going to set for that. Then we can create a invoice. Let's suppose we just consume that material, right? So we will create a invoice for that. So invoice will be like, in that case, in blanket purchase order we don't create GR, goods received, we don't create service entry sheet, right? We don't create RFQ, any RFQ we don't create any agreement like a contract, we don't create. We directly create a blanket purchase order, and we directly create then we directly do the invoicing, right? Once we will create a blanket purchase order for limit and validity, then we will just directly do an invoice for that, right? So that's a blanket purchase order. And for single blanket purchase order we can create so many times invoice, like n number of times we can create invoice for that same blanket purchase order. Like in first time, like we just consume, we just required a material for 8,000, so we will directly do an invoice for 8,000. Then we just required a material for 1,000 value, material service, then we will just do invoicing for 1,000, like that, right? So it's like invoice 1 on February 3rd, and 9 December we just created another invoice, like that we can do, right? One more example here. So blanket purchase order, you can see here we just created a PO, purchase order. We just included a validity in that, like from January 1st to 31st of December, and limit we just put like a 1 lakh, right? And invoice first we just do a invoice on January 15, then we did an invoice on February 3rd, like three invoice we just done on February 3rd. On December 19 we just do two more invoice, like that we can do. I will also show like with a single blanket PO how we can create three invoice, four invoice, five invoice, how we can create that. We will see that in configuration step, right? So that's important. Like if we just do a procurement through blanket purchase order, if we just do a procurement by blanket purchase order, what's the cycle for that? So we just create a purchase requisition. It's also not mandatory document, you already know purchase requisition is not a mandatory. So if we just want to create, we can create. Otherwise we directly create a blanket PO, and then directly we do invoice, right? We don't do goods receipt, we don't do service, we don't create service entry sheet, right? We don't create any RFQ, any quotation we don't create, and we don't create any contract or scheduling agreement. That's also we don't create in blanket purchase order. Like so much of documents are reduced, we directly create a PO and we directly do invoice for that. So that's a blanket purchase order. So we will come again to that. So first we discuss configuration step. So what will be the configuration step? So in the same T code ME21N, we are going to create a blanket purchase order. And first step is we are going to create a vendor master record. If you are using ECC, then just use a T code XK01. But if you are using S4 HANA, then use a BP, T code BP. So that's the single difference. Then you are going to create a blanket PO. That's same in both ECC and S4 HANA. So you just use a T code ME21N. So let me show you. Right. So we are going to create a purchase order. Like we already have a vendor or supplier, we already have a material. Otherwise, if you don't have metal master record and vendor master record, just create a vendor master record and metal master record. And in S4 HANA, T code is BP, and in ECC it's XK01. So I'm directly going to create a purchase order, right? So first of all, what I need to do, here you can see NB standard PO. So NB, all you know as NB is a document type for standard purchase order. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change that to framework order, right? So framework order FO. So FO, you can see here, document type for framework order or blanket purchase order is FO. So that's also a interview question, and in global certification also it's used to be asked. And I have seen that question, like what's the document type for framework order or blanket purchase order? So that's a FO. So here I will just give a vendor, purchase org, purchase group, company code, and here I need to give like a date, validity start and validity end. So validity start, because the system is saying enter validity start. Once we were creating a standard purchase order, we need not to provide that validity start and validity end date, but here we need to provide that. So validity start, I will just give today's date, 17, and I will just give a validity for this month only. You can give for complete 1 year, you can give 2 year, 3 year, whatever you want to give, you can give. So here we will give account assignment category K, cost center. It's not a mandatory data, but I'm giving cost center here. And item category, I'm just giving B for limit. So B, and I need not to give a material. I need not to give a material here. Directly I will give a short text here. So I will just give a consumable material 03, like that I will create. Okay, I will give a short text. I need not to create a material master record in that case, right? Directly just create a vendor or BP, business partner, right? Vendor or supplier using T code BP, and when if you are using S4 HANA, if you are using ECC, then you can use XK01. You just need to use XK01, right? So quantity, let me give one. Net price, let me put that blank. Plant, material group, so that's a mandatory data. So let me take 001. Now check maintain service or limit. Okay, so here I need to maintain a limit. So let's suppose I'm giving 10,000 here, right? Expected value also I can give same or different, so I will give same expected value, right? So if you will just select this checkbox no limit, then there will be no limit. You can create for unlimited like value. For unlimited value you can create, but we will just give a limit, right? Just go to invoice. So first we have to give these value, like GL account 4 lakh, cost center KRIP. So you need to create a cost center first, and you need to assign a GL account on for that. So you can see my cost center video. I have already made a video on that concept, cost center, how to configure cost center. So just give your cost center, hit enter. Yes. So tax code I will give here. Someone have changed tax here. So let me change that first. So I will use T code SPRO. I have to change that in backend first. Someone just change that standard data. So in financial accounting, yeah, here you can see tax on sale and purchase, basic setting, check calculation procedure, assign country to calculation procedure. So in India, that you need not to do. Okay, that's not steps for blanket purchase order, but someone just changed standard data, so I'm just changing that. Now what I need to do, I will just give tax code here. So now it's perfect. M7, let me give 10% tax. That's a 10% tax. So check. Okay. M5, let me check. I have to do one thing. I have to create that again. Like I have to come out once, then I need to do that. Yeah. So let me again give that values, framework order, document type, vendor, purchase group, company code, additional data, account assignment category, cost center, item category, sort text, quantity, plant, and check. So group I need to mention here, material group or service group. So check, enter. I need to give a limit here, so same I am giving, and hit enter. Then here I need to give a GL account, cost center, hit enter. Now go to invoice tab, and here now if I will try, then it's not creating any issue or any error. System is not throwing any error. So check and save. So you can see here, framework order created under the number this. That's a sign like I just created a framework order or blanket purchase order. So let me copy this purchase order number, and directly I will do what? I will directly do invoice verification, Miro. So here in Miro T code I will give company code, so that's my company code, hit enter, and you can see in notes I have mentioned each and every step. So here you need to give these values, vendor, validity start, validity end, everything is mentioned in pictorial form. So that's how you need to do that, right? Now next step is create invoice verification. So T code is Miro. So in Miro, what I need to give this date, invoicing date. So today's date I can give here, and here I will select PO reference, and here I will give my purchase order number, hit enter, and here I will give tax, but before that let me give baseline deadline date, baseline date. So let me give any date here after that invoice date, and I need to give all these details, right? So first let me change from here my tax. So my tax type is M7, I guess. So M7, and you can see still it's showing 0 here. So in that blanket purchase order, invoicing for that blanket purchase order, I need to keep in mind like layout must be invoice reduction first, and here manually I need to give that value, that amount, right? So edit. What I am doing, I just created a blanket purchase order for 10,000 limit. So what I am doing, I am just doing for amount for 1,000, right? And hit just click on check, right? Here it's all came, and just go back. Now you can see it's came here. Now I will just click on this checkbox, calculate tax. Now it's calculated, and tax amount is 100. So I will just give here 1100, that total value, this 1100, and just hit enter. Now it becomes 0, balance becomes 0, and now it's green. That means no error is there. So I can go to simulate, and I can save this, right? You can see here vendor amount 1100, consumption GRIR account 1000, and tax 100. So let me post that. It's posted, right? I just created like blanket purchase order once. I created invoice verification in Miro, right? I created invoice in Miro using T code Miro for value 1000. I just created. If I want to create again for that same purchase order, can I do that? Yes, I can do that. Let's suppose PO reference, that same purchase order number, hit enter, and here I need to, in account assignment, I need to click on edit, and here let me give for 5,000. Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. Hit enter, check, go back, go to basic data tab, and here select your tax code. So that's T5, that's M7, right? You can see here also, and click that checkbox calculate tax. Now you need to give here value 5500, hit enter. It's turned to 0 and it's turned to green. Simulate and post. I created for single purchase order, I created twice. In invoicing I created twice. So invoice I created twice. Like that, if I want to create one more time, yes, I can create. Why? Because I just created twice. Like once I created for 1000 value, another time I created for 5000 value. So total 6000. Is still 4000 is remaining from our limit. So I can create invoice again until it's reached 10,000, right? So let me give this PO reference number here. So this is a reference, hit enter, baseline date, hit enter, and here manually I need to give that. So click on edit. Let's suppose I'm just giving for 5000 value. Let me check I can do that or not. Hit enter. Just see what system is throwing a pop-up message, value exceeds limit 10,000. So we just took our 10,000 limit in our PO and value is exceeded from that. But if I will try to do with 4,000, I can do that. Now see, system is not throwing any pop-up error or message. So just check and go back and just select tax from here. Calculate tax. Give here 4400. Enter, simulate and save. So that's created. Now if I just want to check that in ME23N, let me check. To display purchase order, click on this other purchase order and give your purchase order number here. And if I just go to purchase order history, you can see in invoice receipt, you can see 3 document material document number are there, right? And there is no GR document here. Directly invoice document is available there. And now total value is 10,000, right? 4,000, 5,000 and 1,000, total value 10,000. So you can see in purchase order history and in header tab in status also ordered 10,000, delivered 0 because we didn't done MIGO. Still to delivered is also 0. Invoice is done for 10,000 amount, right? So that's how you can create a blanket purchase order and how you can create an invoice for that. So that's a concept of blanket purchase order, its business use, all we have discussed. Now we will discuss some of interview questions and global certification question in that. So in blanket purchase order, new item category is there and new order type is there, because in blanket purchase order type is FO. Validity period in header of purchase order, that's a mandatory data, but in a standard purchase order we never give that validity period. Limits is also mandatory here, and here we like material number is not required. If you have observed, I didn't give any material number, I directly gave a description, material description, right? No goods receipt or service entry sheet is required, we have discussed about that. Account assignment type is allowed. Yes, we just took account assignment as a cost center, okay, so that's allowed here. Accounting data for the item suggested in an invoice, additional or multiple accounts assignment possible for invoice verification, we have seen that. Validity period and limit checked in invoice verification, so that's also available, right? What's the advantage of a blanket purchase order? So there is a low transaction cost because we need not to maintain so many documents, and every time we need not to maintain so many documents, and it's also consuming time. It's also consume, like it's also due to that low transaction cost is there, because we need not to perform so many transactions. Like we need not to do RFQ, we need not to create a GR document, service entry or service entry sheet document. So low transaction cost is there. So these have a longer validity period of a time. You can give a 1 year, 2 year validity, 3 year validity, you can give like that. You do not require a purchase order for individual procurement transaction. Like individually you need not to create a purchase order again and again. No goods received or entry of service is performed, so that's also important, right? You do not have to specify a material number, so that's also a global certification question. Everyone is a one liner global certification question, so from every one liner a global certification question can be formed, and that's also a favorite topic for SAP in a global certification exam. Account assignment can be defined in a purchase order, but it's not mandatory, so that's also correct. Account assignment and multiple account assignment can be changed in invoice verification, yes. Validity period and limit are checked in invoice verification, that's also correct. They are linked with a budget control, so that these all are the advantage of a blanket purchase order. Now new item type B, for blanket purchase order we need to give. If you have observed, like in item category I just took B for limit, right? New purchase order type, document type FO instead of a NB. Like in standard purchase order we used to take NB, but here we just took FO. You can use blanket purchase order to procure consumable material or services for which it's not worth creating a separate purchase order for each procurement transaction. So whenever like it's not worth creating a separate purchase order again and again, we just create a blanket purchase order, as simple as that. Blanket purchase orders are usually valid for a longer period of a time. You can directly post an invoice for material and services procured for this blanket purchase order, right? So thank you, that's about that. And so in summary, what we can say, like blanket purchase order we create, like we just require that material again and again, and it's not worth to create a purchase order every time. So what we do, we just create a blanket purchase order for that material or services. For example, stationery item like pen, diary, every time we can't create a PO for that, na. So what we do, we just create a blanket purchase order, and whenever we receive we just do invoicing for that, and payment is just done. So and steps are like create a BP or vendor. Like a vendor, we just create vendor or supplier using T code BP and XK01 in ECC and BP in S4 HANA. Then what we have discussed, like in ME21 and document type for blanket purchase order, we just take FO, and here that validity is mandatory, right? So then we can create a blanket PO, and then we directly do invoicing for that, and we don't create any quotation RFQ, we don't create any GR or service entry sheet, we don't create any agreements like outline agreement, contract, we don't create, we directly do create a PO, and then we just create a GR invoicing, we just create an invoice document for that. So that's a framework order or blanket purchase order. If you have any question, you guys can ask to me in a comment section, so I will definitely answer to that. So you can ask to me in a comment section. And thanks a lot for staying up to last. So thanks a lot, may God bless you all.